Good evening, gladiators. We who are about to play salute you. Or perhaps tonight, should I say, we who are about to set sail salute you, because tonight we're doing something a little different than the usual RPG action style game that we play. I do play a lot of different games on this channel, but I've never actually played a simulator. And tonight that's what we're doing. We're checking out Titanic Honor and Glory, which is a simulation of the good ship Titanic. So join me for an adventure at sea. So yeah, Titanic Honor and Glory, as I mentioned, is a simulation, not a full game. It's a work in progress, in fact, from Vintage Digital Revival Studios, and these guys began the game in, I believe, 2015, and they're still working on it to this day. The final product will actually have like an adventure story where you play the role of a young man who gets involved in a crime and has to solve it in 2 hours and 40 minutes, which is the time it took for the Titanic to sink. Spoiler alert. But tonight we're just going to play the demo of the game, which allows us to walk around a fully recreated version of the Titanic ship. So let's get stuck into it, and we'll skip straight to the ship because there is a bit before that I tried out that just basically takes you through Belfast and on to the outside of the ship, but we're just going to go straight on board. Yeah, this is an interesting one to cover on the Games Gladiator, and not, as I said, the usual style game that I would make. Here we are on the ship. And a little preface to this. The Titanic, of course, sank in 1912. It had 2,200 passengers or so, and over 1,500 were lost. It was a great tragedy deep in the North Atlantic. And it's a story that we've all heard many times, but most famously recreated in the James Cameron movie of, I think 1995 or 96, which for a long time was the biggest selling movie of all time before it was surpassed by James Cameron's Avatar.
Most first-class spaces should be accessible.
So we're at the we're
We're
right at the front door of the ship. I'm not sure of the nautical term. But there's Belfast off in the distance. So what I might do is I might turn the voice down so I can talk to you. And can we go through there? Enter? No. It's not. It's beautiful. I'm not going to lie. This is a stunning looking simulator, and I can imagine in VR it must look incredible. I mean, just look at all the detail on the ship. A lot of people will laugh at me covering this game, or you might even scorn and be quite turned off, because the Titanic movie is loved and hated in equal measure, and for me, I remember taking my sisters to see it. I think it might have been 97, actually. I think it's 1997, and I was about 18 at the time, and I took my younger sisters to see it. It was a tough time in our lives, and they were teenagers. We're going through this beautiful dining hall now. I'm looking at all the placemats on the table and lovely stained glass windows, and just beautiful. And I went to this movie with quite, tempered expectations, because I'd heard, it's a Leonardo DiCaprio movie. At the time, he was a bit of a, teenage heartthrob, and it was sort of billed as this big romantic movie. And I'm going to tell you, I was kind of blown away by it. and I'm not in the camp of those people that hate the romance elements of it, but I'm one of those people that just fell in love with the movie, and I've seen it quite a few times. It's, I don't know, it's really affecting to me, and I really bought into, if not the main characters, Leo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet's main character. There's D-Deck, which is where all the the high class passengers live, but I really got into the stories of all the other passengers and the third class passengers and the immigrants and people just basically trying to make a go of it, sailing from Belfast. I can't remember whether it might have been sailing from England, Liverpool, to across the North Atlantic to America. And there's something about it. There's one of those movies that you watch again and again, and the more you see it, the more you pick up on the little details, and just a very personal story. And of course, there's the second half of the movie is of course a spectacular disaster movie, and it's stunning. Like, it really is like a powerful tour de force of a ship sinking. They recreated the Titanic in I think 3/4 scale, so they rebuilt this thing. You can just imagine these halls filling with water as the ship went down. The ship had only been at sea for 3 days, I think, when it struck an iceberg and crashed. And within 2 hours and 40 minutes, it was under the sea in the North Atlantic. As we can see there, that's a second class room, fairly roomy, not too bad. You got running water there and some lovely beds. And this is a really lovely recreation. And the saddest thing about it, was they sent out distress calls to different ships, and only one ship answered. I don't remember the name of the ship. It might have been the Lusitania. It might have been something else. I think I'm getting that mixed up. But a lot of deaths that could have been prevented. And I don't know, there's something about the story. It's over 107 years ago now, and it's something that I still think about. You can run there, you can walk past, and probably need to run if it was. I'm a bit lost. I don't know if you could open the doors, but there's something about the story that just 107 years ago still resonates. It's a human tragedy that we're kind of walking through a ghost story, if you know what I mean, and having nobody else aboard the ship is kind of fascinating to me. I think a lot of the hate for the movie is not really justified, and it's kind of like, I don't know, it's obviously not cool to like romance movies and schmaltzy Hollywood stories and so on, but I think it's quite a beautiful story, or a fairly standard star-crossed lovers kind of story, but wrapped up in a very powerful human tragedy. I gotta say, these guys have done an amazing job here. I mean, look at the reflections on the floor and the marble tiles. I don't know how far down we can go. I'd love to be able to go to the boiler room and so on, but I don't know if we'll be able to do that. What does that say? Smoking is forbidden. Maybe I'm going around in circles here. It's entirely possible. I mean, you can just imagine the chaos that would have occurred as they tried to get everyone above deck. And one of the other great tragedies of the Titanic was they had capacity for a certain amount of lifeboats, but they didn't have them all aboard. They decided it would be a little unseemly. It didn't look so good, and the ship was supposedly unsinkable, so why bother with lifeboats? But tragically, many souls were lost because they couldn't fit in the lifeboats, and it was women and children first. We're back here in the main lounge room, and Many men died because of that, and the very first lifeboats, they didn't even stack them completely, so we're down at E deck. Alright. I'm a bit lost. How are you guys going? I'll forgive you if you don't enjoy this video. I'm kind of enjoying just wandering around this beautiful ship, and you know, just a little tour into the distant past. Wow, here we go. Here's a kitchen. Places are set for many people. This would have been where the second class and third class guests would eat in large numbers. You know, if you had a third class ticket, you weren't eating with the more wealthy and famous celebrity guests and so on. Still, some good eating down here. And here's a picture. White Star Line, so was the cruise line that built the Titanic and ran it, and it was, you know, it was built as the unsinkable ship, and there was a twin ship of the Titanic called the Olympic, I think. Yeah, if you're an expert on Titanic and I'm missing some facts, please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm lost. It's very easy to get lost. Let's get out of that room. Sometimes you have to put yourself in the shoes of people from the past, and you know, it's things like this that can really educate and inspire people to learn about the past and history. And I've been a big fan of nautical stuff and ships for a long time, and of course made Swords and Sandals Pirates because of my love of the sea, and I've read Jules Verne and a little bit of Hemingway, and you know, I'm never going to be a sailor, but I do find the call of the sea quite inspiring. I wonder how far down we can go. Have we been down here? Okay, that's the kitchen. Keep going. I'd love to see the edge of the ship and the you need a map, don't you, really? And I'm sure they're going to put something in the final version. They're planning a few different game modes for this, which is interesting. You know, the adventure mode, and there might be a bit more of a... Oh, there we go. That might be crew bunks or something. But I, for one, I'll really look forward to the final product of this, because I think it will be rather cool. You know, it's an experience not for everyone. I mean, if you're still with me as I'm wandering around this ghost ship, really, then I commend you. Well, oh, cool. Can we get in here? Yeah, look. Now we're heading down into the bowels of the ship. And this would have been claustrophobic and full of panic as the, oh my gosh. Fortunately we can't jump, so we can't go any further down there. It would be really cool to be able to jump. There's smoke rising, but imagine when the bulkheads broke and, broke and water flooded, you know, and the engine rooms were the first to go, and the poor engineers that were fueling the ship were the first ones lost, and they had to seal the doors to try and keep the ship afloat, but only a certain amount of doors would, could be kept afloat before the ship would sink, and eventually they flooded too many of them, and down the ship went in spectacular fashion. So anyway, yeah, I think we'll wander into the end of this corridor, see what's down there, then we'll call it a night. If you haven't seen Titanic, a lot of my audience are younger people, and if you haven't seen it, give it a go. And I know it's schmaltzy and there's a romance component and so on, but there is actually quite a beautiful human story behind there if you look a little bit deeper. And you know, James Cameron is one of the great directors of all time. You know, he made Aliens and Blade Runner, and Aliens and Avatar, and of course many other films which I'm now mental blank on. True Lies. He's a great director, but he was a real stickler for detail, and he made sure that this ship was as an authentic reproduction of the Titanic as possible. He actually went to the on an expedition down to the wreck of the Titanic and filmed a lot of it, and the footage you see in the movie is based on that. So we'll leave that there. That's Titanic Honor and Glory, and that's a free demo you can download and play yourself at any time. So if you're interested in exploring the ship and checking it out, do so yourself at your leisure, and I look forward to the final product. And yeah, a little, as I said, a little bit different Games Gladiator video for you tonight, a little bit more subdued and somber than the usual ones that I do, a little more contemplative, but I'm getting older, and I think it's important to not be ashamed of the things you like, and it's okay for guys to like romance and things that aren't just full of explosions and that kind of thing, and it's, by the same token, girls should be able to like action movies and adventure and fantasy and everything too. Anyway, that's my soapbox. I'll see you again in the next Games Gladiator video. Bye for now.